I want to start doing some live shows instead of just over Zoom, just because
Yeah.
it's always
Oh yeah,
better,
in
you know.
person every now and then. I feel the
Yeah,
energy's different. Like this is still cool
yeah,
and everything, but the energy's different when you're like physically in person. You know, like in like Dre. Okay, like there are times. I
Hmm.
think actually all three of us can relate to this. We love to argue with Derek face to face. It's
yeah.
the best and funniest thing in the world. Like I love watching him like process how angry he's getting with
Hmm.
like anytime
Oh
like I
man.
oppose him on something.
What is up, guys? It's your boy Smalls, back on the vault, brought to you by Thoughts from the Bench, the weekly show that takes a look back at some of the best and worst jerseys in sports. With me, as always, is my compatriot, my one of my best friends at this point, Benny Buckets. How's it going?
Hey, it is going fast and hard. Just it's great, man. How are you?
I'm good. Suns in six,
Suns in four.
Suns in four.
I'm repping Big Chuck in the Suns today just for poops and gigs because of what we're about to roll into.
Yeah, yeah. So, uh, let's not pussyfoot around this. Let's bring on the first guest of this season of the vault. Um, like we always talk about, me and Ben, we love doing the show by ourselves because I feel like we let a lot of stuff fly. We're very comfortable with each other. Having said that, though, we all just like last season, we wanted to bring on different and new guests. Just to it helps us make the show better because it brings on a new perspective, brings on someone. It really just makes us better, honestly, and it's more fun if we bring people in to
Thousand
enjoy.
percent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to enjoy what we do, right? So, without further ado, uh, we're bringing on a guy that definitely brings the juice. He brings the juice every time I see him. And I'm already juiced to do the show every week, but this guy's gonna bring.
Let's
It's gonna be
go.
juice overload this week. He is one of the funniest and most positive guys I think I know on the bench. Period. He's the TFTB ambassador for all the Yinzer Mob tailgates that you guys see on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. This guy is also he's the guy that kind of forgot what TFTB was when we were interviewing Barstool Big Cat. It happens, and but he also got cheated out of his dub in a shotgun race versus
Yeah, I'm
Barstool's
still
White.
pissed about it.
Yeah, against Barstool's White Sox, Dave. Dude, this is Mr. Electricity, the man himself, Mr. Andre Frye. How's it going, brother?
Let's go.
Hey boys. Glad to be on here. Can confirm Big Cat cheated. That happened. That was true. Also
Thousand
can
percent. You can't interfere.
you can't. You can't. He yanked my arm down. You see the tape, but I will one day rematch White Sox Dave. What I will say is two things. Number one, very glad to be on the show, boys. I love what you guys do. Talking swagger. I love swagger, especially when it comes to sports. Jerseys are something that like the best thing about a jersey is like when it's just absolutely pristine from top to bottom. And there's only a few that know this. So I'm talk about when you look at it with the eyes. I know how that sounds, but like my goodness, it just there's good jerseys or crap jerseys, but a good jersey just sets it off, and you can wear it anytime. As you can see, I'm not repping basketball. I'm repping Ken Griffey Jr. today.
Which is a
So
classic.
And
It's one of my favorite baseball jerseys,
the
honestly.
color scheme's amazing. That's number one. And number two, very glad to be on, boys. I really am. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for the invite. And I'm excited, and I brought the juice.
He brought the
let's
juice. He
go.
brought the juice. So yeah, kind of like how we talked about, before we hopped on camera here. Me and Benny are gonna lob you a few softball questions. Now, if you want to, we can actually talk softball. I don't know if you're in like a beer league softball on a beer league softball team or something, but
They
um,
call me Big Country.
no, let's
With
go
a K. With a K though.
with
No
a
C.
K. Okay. But But yeah, we'll toss a few softballs here, Benny. If you're cool with it, I'm just gonna start. Let's
Go
just
right ahead. Yeah.
let's just start off with if you could just kind of tell the people who might watch the vault but aren't super familiar with like thoughts from the bench and the history. If you could just kind of let the people know how you initially got involved with thoughts from the bench.
So this was sort of back during the inception. Derek Deek, the CEO, him and Greg would do live shows at Scratch, which was his brother's bar. His brother was the bartender there, but it was set up where, hey, we could go there and do live shows. And he told me about it because I talk to Deek all the time. I'm in multiple fantasy leagues with him. We always talk shop. We always talk fantasy. We talk just regular football, talk about other things in general. But the biggest thing was like from there, he said, hey, I got live shows. And I was like, I'm going to go. I got nothing else going on Thursday. So I would go. I'd show my support. But then he started bringing me on to commentate and ask me questions. And I was, feeling more comfortable. And I've always been one. It's like not scared to be on camera or anything like that. And it's a live show. So, going on there, people are watching and talking in front of a crowd full of people, like, spewing my opinion. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. So it started from there. And then he basically approached me and was like, hey, like, you've been coming to the shows. I want to show you how to write blogs. I'm like, well, I got opinions. Like, so from there, it just started to take off where I started to write blogs and stuff. And now I kind of feel like I'm an incepted member, so used to have a show, trying to work on reviving it, Heart of the Order, strictly about baseball, but COVID killed baseball, so I kind of killed the show. And then Brooksy and Greg Mack kind of, they kind of moved away, did separate things. So, but they're always welcome back. They're always valued members of the bench because that's who we are. No matter what, we always support each other. So, and that was,
except Pete.
Well, Pete was never a bencher to me. So, and if he watches this, I would be shocked
Agreed.
if he watches this.
Yeah.
I just like dog walking that anytime I can. So sorry. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Anyways, I was screw Pete. Yeah, now I'm thinking about Pete. Screw Pete. That Browns fan jag. Oh man. Anyways, I've known Deke. I've known Deke since we were kids. So for him to do this and him bring me on, and he knows my passion for sports, like for me, it's just a no-brainer. So anytime I get the chance to do something, like I'm gonna do it outside of writing, which I can do anytime. When it comes to hopping on the vault or like 2 beers deep or just one-off doing like a mock draft, like I'm all in. So no brainer.
Yeah, no, when you're saying spewing your opinions, I can honestly say like you and it's so myself, I can consider myself definitely, I know college football more than anyone else on the bench, I would say. Having said that, in terms of sports knowledge, I would put you and Greg Malik at the top. Like anytime I talk sports with you guys, I can tell
1,000%.
You guys know exactly what you're talking about. I remember the first time, I think it was the first, no, we went to the same high school, but you were like in Deke's grade, so I don't really think we ever
grade
really
above
talked. Okay. Oh yeah, so we actually never even went to school together, right?
Yeah.
So
my brother graduated with Deke. I got a twin brother for those who don't know. So we just end up in different grades.
Right.
But he graduated with Deke. So
I gotcha. Yeah. But that's the thing. I just remember like it was one of those live shows at Scratch, right? And I show up, and we had seen each other's names, on the site and stuff. But I showed up, and I mean, right away it was like we were comfortable with each other. I felt like I remember us talking on that 2 beers deep at Scratch. I was defending DK Metcalf because Deke was not sold on DK Metcalf, and you were almost like on my side a little bit. And I was kind of look back on that, and I'm like, I don't know, me and Dre were a little bit ahead of the curve there. But second to none. I would say you and Malik are for sure, like as far as like people that know sports, you and Malik are like top notch.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. One thing about sports is no matter what the sport is, every single sport has some sort of value that you can carry throughout your life. And that's really why, like, it's not just football or baseball for me. Like every single thing when you realize the intestinal fortitude it takes not just play a sport, but to play the specific sport.
Mm-hmm.
And when you learn all about it, the ins and outs in terms of the game, and then you start to get interested in things like the business behind it, like it's amazing, and what I will say is when it comes to DK Metcalf, I can't believe people thought this dude was going to be a scrub.
That's what I
Like
thought.
it's amazing to me.
Dude, I had him in a mock draft going 9th overall to the Bills that year, and he falls to the bottom of the 2nd round. I was like, what the hell happened? But no, dude, I remember it potentially even the same show. Like I came home on one of my leave trips. It was the first time that I came home like since doing anything with Thoughts from the Bench. Like before that, I wasn't really involved. And then once I came on, I got to admit, like I was a little nervous about talking to anyone other than Smalls or Deke because they were the only 2 people I knew prior to, well, and Austin, but like prior to. And then I came to the show and I remember like I was like, oh man, like are these guys just gonna be like weird with me because I wasn't from the area. Like I mean I was, but like I wasn't there. You know what I mean? I lived 2,000 miles away. So I was like, is it gonna be weird? You were the first person to come up and talk to me of like the people that I didn't meet, right? And you were just like super welcoming and everything. And then like it was like obviously like it was a good wholesome like hello and welcome, and I was like, yeah, I like this dude already. And then like you said hi to me and I don't remember who it was. You turned around as soon as we got done talking and immediately jumped right back into the middle of an argument about sports. And I was like, I love this like dude. Yeah, like it was like, hey Benny, like so nice to meet you, man. I'm Andre. Like let me know if you need anything or whatever. All right, now you're an idiot because like it was like this like right after the other. It was the best thing in the world.
Probably the rank king.
Oh my god. Anyone queen. Can argue
the rank queen, yeah.
With that
individual.
But Dre, I have a question for you. So obviously, like I know you've grown up loving sports and you've kept that through your adulthood. And I know more of a niche sports group that you're a part of is you are a devout alumni of Robert Morris University. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's like you, Wale, and a couple other
Wale does own it.
A couple other people. Okay. But like, you're right up there. But I know that you're very proud of being an RMU fan and alumni and all that. And I know that more recently you've kind of at least seemed to be more engaged with their athletic events again and been more around campus. Is that just a coincidence or a desire that you've just had more freedom to be able to go up there? Or have you developed a new connection with Robert Morris?
So I was always connected to them even since I graduated, and it's mainly with the basketball side of things. So I rarely went to games at so there was Soul Center, which was the place that sat 3,000 people. It looked like a high school gym on crack, if we're going to be honest, because like it was not nice for a Division I university. Like this shouldn't be a facility on this campus. But they got the new arena, and when they did, and as I was growing up, you run into things like excess money. So I was able to invest in season tickets. So I've been up there at the basketball games ever since. But, following the program, seeing what they can do. And then the whole debacle with the hockey team, which is something I don't know if we'll have enough time to get into. That was just a mess, an absolute mess. It made no sense because out of the two programs that Robert Morris has, men's basketball is one. The second pillar is men's hockey, and for it to just
they're elite.
Disappear, they are elite, and they're one of the two programs that can give Robert Morris national exposure, whether it's U.S. or international exposure, because they're not just recruiting within the U.S. They're recruiting guys from Slovakia and Canada to come play for them. So for that to just get disbanded, it completely sent every single alumni, including myself, into a frenzy because there was no explanation.
Wait, what was the reason for that? Because I'm not super familiar with that. Was it just too expensive? Was that?
No, that's the thing. We never got a reason.
And that's what confused me was because, like you're saying, man, I mean, they are like nationally known, right? In some cases, internationally known. Like, I feel like a program that successful, wouldn't that generate revenue for the school as opposed to take a hit to them?
Yeah. And one of the biggest, you're absolutely right, Ben. Like, one of the biggest things that sort of doomed them was that the hockey arena, when the new basketball arena went up, there was a debate whether hockey was going to be allowed to play there, and they decided no, it's just purely for basketball. So that's number one, and that really sucks. Robert Morris needs to do better in that department, and they need to make sure that it would be easily accessible to get students to games. The most accessible way is to put it on campus. I can't think of anything else easier. And now Coriopolis ain't too far, but it's still a hassle for people that don't have a license or have their car if there's no transportation there. So that's number one. Number two, hockey is an expensive sport in itself.
Yeah.
But Robert Morris being a private institution should have this money and able to fund this program. The fact that they cut this and the women's team made no sense because there was no explanation what was behind it or anything like that. So for all these fundraisers to happen and scramble for them in order to raise money for Robert Morris hockey to now be back, that's awesome to see the support that it got, because it got cut. And when it got cut, there was no explanation.
It's an outrage. Too, like, especially, it like more close to home, playing close to the vest. It hit, I think, the alums more, because even like you going there, right? Like, you might not have been super invested in hockey, but you knew like Robert Morris are two, like you said, basketball and hockey. And those are the two reasons that obviously they were a Pittsburgh school, but why I knew them growing up was because they had an awesome basketball program and they had an awesome hockey program. And I think it was like one of those things, just makes no sense. It would be like, if Penn State football got cut, like it would make no sense. You know what I mean? So I think that especially it's cool because we just see that externally, but you being an alumni and being very connected to the university, like you have more of a personal view and being able to see like just how much that actually affected like the RMU community with something that important to the culture and to the whole athletic department and everything, like being cut just made no sense. So and that's like, to me, that really means that there's no reason for it. If someone is in touch with it, is you are never got an explanation as to why it got cut. It's such a head scratcher.
Yeah. And so I'll take you back to when I was in school in 2013, I want to say it was my junior year. There were 24 Division I athletic programs offered to, incoming freshmen or whoever was going to come, and they cut 7. When they cut 7, people were outraged, but the president at the time, Gregory DeLomo, stood up there and he owned it, and he showed his strategic plan as to why he's cutting these programs. And they guaranteed help for every single athlete that was affected by the cuts. And that's, to me, that's all you can do. If you're going to make a decision like that, you have to own it, and you have to make sure that you help the guys and women, the guys and girls who are affected by this decision. The president, Chris Howard, he didn't do that. Now he's gone. And hockey is back next year, I believe. They're not playing close to Robert Morris, which again is going to cause more issues, but they're playing in the Penn facility up in Cranberry. Last I checked, and honestly, the biggest thing is the fact that they're back. It should never happen in the first place, but they're going to be here, and it's going to have more support. Robert Morris is one of the only hockey programs in the area offered. They do this thing every year, Three Rivers Classic. Smalls can probably co-sign on this. The Penn State is there, and they have a good hockey program. And then they bring in like Quinnipiac, and then I think one year Michigan was there, which is another good hockey school. Like Boston University was there, and they got famous guys. I think Jack Hughes went to Boston University, who now plays in the NHL, used to play for the Sabres. Bottom line is like you have things like the Three Rivers Classic where they use PPG Paints Arena for that. You have the NHL draft where the PPG Paints Arena is hosted there. Like cutting a program like that, it's there because of Robert Morris University. It's good for the city. Like you're cutting that, like you're affecting the whole entire society. It makes zero sense whatsoever. But the right has been wrong. The wrong has been right, rather. And it's back. So now it's just a matter of showing the support that, match the outrage of the program getting cut, which is what I plan to do.
Yeah, that's that's definitely one of the more, we've had other guests on before. That's definitely one of the more informative questions and answers I think we've had on the show, which is good. Like, I feel like for the most part, but I want to pivot here. How did you? And this is not. If I say this in a way that makes it seem like you shouldn't be the guy, that's not it. You are the only guy that should be doing it. How did you become the one that is the guy interviewing everyone at Yinzer Mob tailgates? Because you are electric when you do it. Every
You
time,
kill it.
yeah, you
Murder it.
kill it. If anyone hasn't seen it, go look at any of the Yinzer Mob tailgates that Thoughts from the Bench has put up. It's always awesome. And I had the privilege this year of going with Dre to the first one we did with Coors and Yinzer Mob, and it was so much fun. I didn't expect it to be as much fun as it was, and it was awesome. But how did you get involved doing that?
Honestly, Deke just asked me to do it. Like, I'm comfortable on camera. I got no problem with that. But he's like, hey, the first one I did was the Miami Dolphins game.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was 2019. He had asked me to go down. It was Monday Night Football. He asked me to go down there and interview some Dolphins fans. It was me. He said, Josh Alsace, who obviously we dearly miss. Glad he's doing well, but Deke told me, it's like, hey, you're gonna meet Alsace down in the North Shore, and we're gonna shoot this video. And I was like, all right, what am I gonna do? And he's like, you're just gonna be yourself. I was like, well, that's easy enough, but that doesn't really explain what I'm supposed to do. So he said, go down there, interview some Steelers fans, interview some Dolphins fans, because they sort of had a partnership, and that was what Deke was working on behind the scenes with the Yinzer Mob. So they said they wanted content created, wanted content made. So Deke used me as the guy to get the job, but he also said this is a way for me to get more involved into Thoughts from the Bench. So I did that one that year. Later in the season, it wouldn't have been, I think it was Sunday Night Football. I did the Buffalo Bills, which was really cool. So I interviewed some Bills fans. We didn't do any in 2020, which kind of sucked because they were we had so much fun that Alsace, Deke, and Greg Mack were planning on running an RV to drive up to Buffalo because 2020 they were visiting.
That would have been
Buffalo.
awesome. Yeah,
it would have been. But this year came around, and Deke said he wanted to turn up the volume on it, and I was like, cool. It just so happened, and I had no idea. It just so happened that the Barstool guys were there. If it wasn't Monday Night Football, I don't even think they would have been there.
It was the Bears thing.
Yeah.
The fact that it was awesome, and they brought in like Jersey Jerry and Joey Molinaro, and then Big Cat was there, which was like he's top 3 in the company, if not 2, right behind Prez. And all the other guys were there. And some of the guys I didn't get to talk to, like I guess Carl was there. Obviously, White Sox Dave, which we talked about, him beat me in a shotgun race. But
with an asterisk.
Yeah, there's an asterisk back there. And they know that. They know that. But bottom line is that there was a lot of things we planned for that. And a lot of those things that happened that day were very unplanned. But the biggest thing is that the Yinzer Mob is really the driving force behind that because they travel to every game. So next year, not next year now, but next football season, I plan on trying to take those on the road, and I would like to go back up to Buffalo and be in that environment because I think it would be 20 times more electric.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Dre, I have a follow up for this question, and we could get into it. But my follow up is kind of 2 parts. So one, you getting to do those Barstool interviews is first of all, you killed it. You did not change your demeanor or anything. And that's, I think, to credit what Deke was saying is we just want you to be Dre, and you were always Dre. And that's why people love seeing you on camera, but you kept the same demeanor with those guys. Was it, and obviously like Barstool is a company that I think us at Thoughts on the Bench, I don't want to say we try and emulate, but we take some inspiration from them and things like that. What were your feelings like? Because obviously you said you didn't know that they were there beforehand. Getting to see them, obviously, I feel like there's a bit of shock value, but what was your thought process with going up to them? Like, did you have questions like, I've been waiting for this, like I'm ready to ask these guys anything, or did it just kind of flow naturally? And like, did you feel that the conversations went well, or like was somebody stale that you weren't expecting to be stale? Like what were those interactions like with the Barstool guys?
So what I will say is that when I heard they were there, instantly I was like, I need to get these guys on camera. Like at that point, I was like 3-4 people in. Like I was talking to people, and I was probably pun here. Also, shameless plug. At least 2 beers deep.
Yeah. Well, especially those. What was it? Orange juice and tequila that we had before.
Oh man,
those were strong, man. That guy was just handing them out like candy.
he was, and tailgates are that's my vibe. Like I've always had the saying. This came again from friends from college. I'm undefeated at tailgates, never lost. So when I found out they were there, I was like, I gotta obviously get these guys on camera. The only guy I can honestly say that I was probably starstruck for and talking to a little bit was Big Cat. And I will say that because I assumed Joey was going to be there. Joey Molinaro, him being a Steelers fan. I never even knew Jersey Jerry was such a big Yinzer until I interviewed him myself. But when I found out that the Barstool guys were there, Joey was like the only one I assumed. When I saw Big Cat, I mean, this dude stands out like a sore thumb. Like he's just 6'4".
He's massive.
He's a massive dude. But he's a nice guy. Like he legitimately, like when I interviewed him, he said, "Hey, come back. There's going to be more guys here, like White Sox Dave, and then we'll be here." And I'm like, "Oh, dope." So he gave us the time when they should be there. So we left. We actually came back. But when I was in the process of talking to him, I didn't really know exactly how to describe, because he asked me questions like, "How do you describe thoughts from the bench?"
Yes.
And Smalls remembers this. I was like, "Well, we're kind of like Barstool." He's like, "No, stop right there." And that's where I was like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah.
Like, in a sense, I feel like we're sort of like Barstool in the sense of when we try to create content and things like that. But then Small stepped in, and he, dude stepped in like Chris Paul, just assists, like absolutely like took over when I needed it. And I was very appreciative of that. So I never got a chance to say to Smalls, thank you. I appreciated that, because he was the only one where I was like, I don't know what to say to that. Yeah.
Well, because I remember, and I guess the first thing I'll say about Big Cat is, and not that I don't know if I would consider at this point Big Cat a celebrity. Now whether or not you might be able to argue with that, I'm not, I don't know, but like, just because it's not like a typical celebrity, if you like think about it, but, you would almost think that someone that is that big on the internet, would almost have a big head on them, right? That dude was the most genuine and nice guy I think that I could have met in that situation. Like, the first thing he was asking what thoughts from the bench was, he's like, "No, that's awesome." Besides the whole, what his thoughts from the bench thing, and luckily I think we were able to save it a little bit. But he did have a thing. He's like, "Yeah, if you come up with a new app, you can't say that it's just like Uber. You have to explain it, like what's different about it," which is a good point, I guess. But he was just so cool.
I didn't take that. Like, when I watched the video, I didn't take that as him being a dick. You know what I mean? I think it was genuine.
He was being
like,
funny,
trying to help.
But like,
but still, like, exactly. But I don't know. I love that you guys did that, and like getting to see that was so cool. And I feel really bad because I was supposed to be there, but then some stuff in my professional life came up. So it was it's one that, like, I'm definitely trying to come to more if you continue to do that, like this season and things like that. If that's something, but I think like there's a lot of things that you do. But I think, and that's, not discrediting anything else, but I feel like that is just awesome because it's so wholesome and it's never scripted. You know what I mean? You are just being yourself, interacting with real people randomly that don't have affiliation with thoughts from the bench. And it's always in a good atmosphere. Like you said, undefeated at tailgates, because tailgates are awesome. They're a good atmosphere. It's still sports related, but people are usually in a good mood, having a good time. And like, you getting to catch people in a fun environment and being able to make content out of that is awesome. So that's something that I just wanted to ask, because I kind of fangirled a little bit when I got to see the both of you. I've talked to Smalls about it, but I never got to talk to you about like your interactions, kind of like spearheading the interviews and stuff with the Barstool guys, because I just feel like that's an awesome experience. So it was awesome to see, like, from a fan perspective, but I wanted to know what it was like for you on the interviewer side.
It was by far and away one of the most awesome experiences I've ever had, because just like the interviews, it just came out of the blue. Like straight up, didn't expect that. Didn't expect anything like that to happen. Didn't expect them to be there. When I found out they were there, I was like, this is once in a lifetime. Like, I have to do this. So,
yeah, and you capitalized, man. It was awesome.
Yep.
I did, and I couldn't have been happier. Like, immediately after, and I'll remember this forever, but immediately after I got the interview with Big Cat, I called Deke and I was like, dude, I just interviewed Big Cat for Thoughts from the Bench, and that's amazing.
Yep.
Because dude has a platform. Like, he's, to me,
huge, massive.
He's one of the most recognizable. I would say he's one of the most recognizable guys in the sports industry today.
Yep.
Now, he's very
and especially on a social media basis. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those guys, I mean, they have their own brand, they have their own company and things like that. But like, on a social media standpoint, you got 13-year-old kids listening to Barstool podcasts and stuff. You know what I mean? And then you've got 65-year-old men wanting to be on their shows and stuff. Like they reach such a broad. I mean, and there's tons of women who are into Barstool, because Barstool has been so wide, and they made it their own thing from a similar start to what we do, that I think it was like, you know, a lot of people know who they are from having a very humble start like we do here, and you being able to kind of connect those dots and get to interview those guys was just awesome, dude. And so on behalf of the company, to the both of you, well done, because that was so awesome, like, for us. And I think just and just for people in general, like people who follow Thoughts from the Bench, you know, like, even if it's like our family members or our friends or whatever, like people who know who they are, that was so cool. Like, I had friends tell me, like, hey, did your friends just talk to Big Cat? And I'm like, oh yeah, they did. You know, like, it was so awesome, like, on behalf of everybody, to see you guys just, like, no hesitation, just mix it up, get in there. And that was just, I think, like that's got to be on the Mount Rushmore of TFTB moments. And that's something that you guys should be extremely proud of.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we should definitely get started. I don't want to delay the show anymore.
We've given you like an hour interview before the show,
which is fine. But yeah, the only other thing I want to add, it wouldn't have been the same had Big Cat not have been as cool and as I don't want to say helpful, but as encouraging as what he was. Right? So I remember the fact that he just said, "Hey, that's awesome." I'm like, that's awesome that you guys are doing this. Keep grinding. I'll never forget him saying that, because that sticks in my mind. That will stick in my mind forever, because it's just
too smalls.
Yeah, like it was awesome. So without further ado, let's hop into it. Before we hop on to our ad read, Dre, looks like you're drinking some wine. What are you drinking?
So I got my guy Robert Mondavi. It's Woodbridge. But I got a Merlot today.
Ooh.
I usually drink Cabernet.
Sauvignon.
Sauvignon. I can't even say that. I'll just say Cab. I failed French. I don't even know if it's French, but I wanted to get a Merlot because I like dry whites or dry reds. So dry wine in general, dry whites too. But yeah, I had this, and I got a white, but I was like, I'm when it comes to like when I'm gonna be eating for dinner and stuff, which I like to pair wine with dinner. Just hanging out, glass of red, can't go wrong with it. So I got a Merlot today.
You're a savant. I'll leave it at that. You're a savant. Benny, are you sipping on anything tonight?
I am. Yeah, I got some JMO and ginger right now. A nice little cocktail in here. Yeah. I went back to it's I had to give me something enjoyable but keep me nice and toasty for the conversation. Yeah. Smalls, what about you, bro?
So yeah, same vein. Ben, big whiskey guy, big Irish whiskey guy. If you can't tell by my facial hair, I'm a Mick for sure.
While dude's wearing a Celtics jersey also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I got some proper 12.
Oh,
repping number 12.
That's right. Repping Connor, repping our boy.
Hey, so. I love it. No joke, dude. I love it. I have some awesome and horrible stories, all that link to me loving that whiskey too much. So I'm
good whiskey.
Yeah.
All right.
But and you're drinking it neat too. I can see that.
Yeah.
That's how I drink my bourbon.
Yeah. It's so honestly it was out of pure laziness. I usually like to throw 2 ice cubes in there. Just kind of keep it cold a little bit, but I just didn't fill up the ice tray, so it's fine. But let's let Ben. You want to tell the people who this topic's brought to you by?
All right, without further ado or Freddie ado, we're going to talk about another former soccer prodigy. Okay, Will Marshall of Marshall Fitness. All right, Will, obviously, as anyone who's been a fan of the show knows that Will is a friend of the show. Will was our sponsor who reached out as soon as we were trying to do the show and wanted to be a part of it because he knew that we were something special and we wanted him to sponsor us because we know that he is something special. Will is special because he's going to work around your needs as a personal trainer. You don't even have to meet with him in person. He will help you via his social media and use you as a client through using the MyFitnessPal app, which you can download on your phone. And Will's going to guide you to the goals that you want to meet based on your schedule and your equipment that's available to you, build you a meal plan, build you a workout plan, and go to your goals. He's not trying to make you fit a certain mold that he wants you to get to. You tell him what you want to achieve, and he's going to be the guy to push you and get you there. I've seen Will do it for multiple clients. I should probably get on his plan pretty soon. And if I do decide to get off my lazy fat ass and do something with myself, it's going to be to Will because I know he's going to get me to where not only I want to be, but where I need to be. He's very smart. He's well-versed in all things personal training. And there's honestly nobody that I would trust more than Will Marshall to get me in shape. So please check him out on his social medias that you can see right over here. And check out Marshall Fitness. And the time to start is right now.
Boom. All right. So, whenever I reached out to Dre originally, I asked him what kind of topics he wanted to do, and he came back. Now, it was probably a little bit of a miscommunication, but we dialed it in a little bit. It sounded like he was thinking just all-star jerseys in general across all sports. I thought he meant NBA. We eventually talking it over, we drilled into the NBA all-star jerseys, and that's what we're talking about this week, boys. So I'm kind of excited about this one. This was kind of a niche topic, I think, which is what the show's all about. But
hey, listen, there was no convincing needing to be done for me. Huge NBA guy. Like this was awesome. And I mean, I do like all of the all-star jerseys because I think it is, it's one event for each sport a year. So like there's, it's more significant. But the NBA, I was always down for, and I think all three of us have some heat tonight. So I'm stoked.
Yeah. And with All-Star Weekend just happening, I was like, we got to talk about this because, the jerseys this year, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm just going to say it. I did not like them.
Mm-hmm.
Me neither. Thought they were too plain, too bland, but that's why we go back into history and we dig back into the vault. Shameless plug.
Ooh.
And we see
he's prepared.
Yeah.
We like Ben, like you said, we all got some heat, so I'm pretty excited to review the heat.
Yeah.
So to say.
Absolutely.
Not the Miami Heat, but go Heat.
Well, go Heat, right, Ben?
Hey, listen, I'm a Miami Heat guy. I'm wearing Sun stuff tonight just to mix it up because I love the NBA as a whole, but the Heat are my team. So I explained that, 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
But regardless.
Yeah, regardless. All right, so we're going to start with Ben. Ben, what do you got? What are you going to start off with this week?
Okay, so as you know, one of the main pillars of this show is nostalgia, and this one just hits me from like my early teenage years. Okay, I remember Kobe's performance in this game in Phoenix. This was also the All-Star game where Shaq came out for his introduction with the Jabberwockies doing the dance with the mask on and stuff. And like this just brings back so many memories for me. And I actually like both uniforms. Like I think that they're clean. They're not too plain, but they're also not super flashy. I love the badge or the insignia for the All-Stars up in the corner. And the font, I just really dig. I know that a lot of people, they make fun of the East because it's like an EA Sports deal. I still like it. I like the font. And for it being Phoenix, I'm kind of surprised with the color schemes of the two, that it wasn't more in depth with, these colors. Mm-hmm. But I really like the way that they did it, the red and the white, and then the blue and the black. Like I like the color contrast of the dark and the light. And they kept the font to where it was something that really didn't belong to an NBA team. So it was more specific to the All-Star game itself. And I don't know, man, like these are ones that hit me in the, the history of my mind of watching All-Star games growing up, especially like in my teenage years is when I really fell in love with basketball. I always liked it, but it was kind of like this era that I was like, man, like basketball is dope, and getting to see Kobe put on then and Shaq, like there was so much like almost pageantry to it. But in general, like just aside from just the nostalgia, I really think that these are just clean, neat, not too simple, but not too complicated. Like they are kind of the quintessential all-star jersey. But I like that they also didn't completely buy into the city, that it was more like it's individualistic for the game itself. So that's why I picked them.
Yeah. Now, these are solid, especially, I always think like the 2000s NBA. I feel like it might come back around, but I think looking back at it now, they had some ugly uniforms back then, just because they were trying to be almost modern, but like everything was so baggy. They kind of they did well with these, I think, for the era, if that almost makes sense, like
absolutely.
like some of the jerseys from '09, I guarantee, are just they're garbage. I guarantee if you go back and look at it, they got some stinkers, but these all-star ones are not bad.
They're not bad at all.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, real quick. Can you guys hear me? Because my furnace is on. It's right beside my laptop setup.
No,
you're coming.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, good. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I did want to get that in there before,
Yeah.
potentially it could be too loud. So
Yeah.
glad to hear it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were done explaining Smalls.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
take the floor, man.
What I do love about these jerseys, because I almost picked them. I do not hate the white ones, but what really sets these off for me is specifically with the NBA jerseys is how they're paired in terms of their counterparts. So sometimes white can be a little bit too bland, but the blue ones with the light blue on the lettering, and the outline of the numbers, oh my goodness, chef's kiss. Absolutely dig that. And when they're paired together, it's just the best. Now, I look at this picture and I see the balls they're holding, and I don't know if this is the ball that they used during the game. And if they did, they might have used it one year. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but the bottom line is this. We're not talking about the ball. We're talking about the jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
And both jerseys are clean. This was one of my picks in my top 5. When I was narrowing it down, we had to be different. So obviously I could eliminate that, because I know Ben was going to talk about it. But the bottom line is I love this pairing. I love this jersey, and I love to see D Wade and Kobe rep these, model these off. So
yeah.
And arguably, like, this was like prime time for both of their careers also, and I mean, that's why they were the feature picture. But like, it just, like I said, more so, obviously I like the way they are aesthetically and visually, they hit me and things, but it really does just take me back to like that era of basketball was, I'm not knocking basketball now, but arguably like my favorite era. And like that time frame in terms of like who was hot, like just how the season seemed to flow then. Like this was just like, I don't know, this was great throwback basketball for me, and my teenage self was very satisfied with making this pick.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. They didn't try to do too much, which I like. You can see some of them, they tried to do a lot with some of these all-star jerseys, and they did not turn out well. But I think they nailed it. Overall, they're not my favorite, but I think they did a really good job.
Yeah.
So
like
they're solid.
They're clean. They're clean. They're solid. And I do want to touch on one thing that Benny said, and that was that they didn't do too much to represent the city of Phoenix. I actually really like that because, like you said, Smalls, when we were going through, I picked out jerseys for other sports, and I was going through Major League Baseball and whatever city they try to honor that city by doing something that represents what the team is about, whether it's a symbol or something like that. They didn't do that with these, and the NBA does a really good job in understanding that, you don't have thank you to the city, but like most thank you is like they're there. They
100%. Yeah.
When it comes to the design, they didn't do too much in terms of trying to honor the city. They just designed a dope jersey.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can do both too. You can incorporate the city and the area really well, and you can also not. I think another thing too, and this might be a theme whenever we start going over it. Kobe is featured a lot in some of these picks. I'm just gonna leave it at that. So you'll see. Yeah, exactly. All right, Dre. Let's move on to your first pick. What do you got?
07 New Orleans jerseys. Now this is kind of like the opposite of what I just said in terms of honoring the city, because this is what they did there, as you can see with the script. But the one thing I really love about these is the two tones with the gold on the back and the white for the west, but then the blue on the front and the white on the back for the east. Being in New Orleans, I believe this was the first time they were there. I also believe this is the first year after they relocated from Charlotte to New Orleans. I believe this is the first game. I want to say David Stern kind of made this happen, and he wanted it to happen for the relocation. So, but I love these. It seems like there's a lot happening with the letters, but again, that's one of the reasons why I actually like this, because you got the numbers down, not too big. You got the letters representing the west and the east and how they get smaller, and then the numbers right below that, the S and the T. The biggest thing about these for me is that lettering and that scheme right underneath it. The scheme underneath the east and the west is the homage to New Orleans, but for me the biggest thing about this is the two-tone, and on the side they got the stripes going right down. The shorts are the same, and you're not going to see it in this picture, but the shorts are the same too, where they're two-tone. And for me, these just stand out. And if I got to pick, obviously I like the West a lot better than the East. I just think that gold on the back is just so fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think the pairing of the red and the gold is awesome. Like for that too, like for there to be anything on that gold back, that red kind of like pops and almost accentuates the gold a little bit. And I love that, man. Like this was kind of another one of those. There was a different take. You don't see two tones very often. Hell, in sports, let alone in all-star games, and then
it can go poorly. It can go poorly.
All-star game. Exactly. Like it could potentially be a train wreck. But I think they hit with these. It's funny, Dre, you were talking about like my last one being one that you scratched from yours. This is one that I scratched from mine. So like these were ones that I had up there. And yeah, this is a dope pick. Hey, look at this, Smalls. First time he's been on the show, and this is what he rolls out with for his first pick. So obviously we had nothing to worry about.
Swagger.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah. Now the only, I don't want to add too much. The only thing I will add is I think they had it down in New Orleans again. Probably only a few years ago now, somewhere in the next decade.
14.
Yeah.
14.
Yeah, and they really leaned heavy into like I don't even know the name of that symbol, but like the Saints symbol, that logo. They leaned real heavy into that for that All-Star game. I don't think it looked as good. These ones, I don't mind. I really like them, actually. Like, I think at first glance, I'm not sure if I would normally like this, but they did a really good job. Especially, I'm surprised I like the two-tone. That's what they did a good job with it. That's what I'm most surprised about. But,
yeah, and that's really what set it off for me. And to piggyback off your point, when they went down the second time, that was the first year they introduced the sleeves on the jerseys. So they had those for the All-Star jersey. I don't know if you remember when LeBron was in the Heat.
Yeah, and they were
where he ripped off his sleeves because he was so mad about something. They had those. They had that design for the second time in New Orleans. I was just like, that ain't it.
Yeah, dude. So last year, we had Chance Humphreys on, one of Deke's buddies, Keep Pittsburgh Dope, and we were doing the worst NBA jerseys of all time, and it's still to this day, it's like my favorite pick on the vault because his pick was literally any sleeved jersey worn by an NBA team.
That was the pick. Not a year, not a team. It was any NBA jersey with sleeves, bro. But it was perfect. It was like the perfect pick for that episode,
The only cool thing about it is you could see how big some of these guys are. Like Dwight Howard and AD, they look cut, but like I don't care about that. That's not what an NBA jersey is.
Yeah.
Like,
That's who gives a shit.
Yeah.
Crap. Sorry, swear jar.
Who gives a crap? Yeah.
But yeah,
All right, so let's move on to my first pick. I wanted to switch it up on this one. So, went to the wrong one there. So, I'm gonna go with the. Whenever I texted you guys, I actually had the wrong year, and the wrong city. So this was actually 1980, the 1980 All-Star Game down in DC. So this was one of the ones that they went through a stretch where they kind of modeled the All-Star jersey based off of the team that was stationed there, right? So this is based on the old Bullets jerseys, which I think are great. So these ones I really really like. They almost have like a Harlem Globetrotters feel to it. Now they do have the ball hugger shorts on, which they've kind of made their way back a little bit, but I think they do it pretty well. They just got this, the stars up the side there. That waistband sticks out really well. That's that strong red and that strong red. Strong red going across the waist. Kind of pops a little bit. And normally I would look at anything with stripes on a basketball jersey and I'd be like, get out of here. These kind of work because it is just kind of like old time vintage basketball, right? And I look at this and I'm like, this is an NBA All-Star uniform. Like this is like a quintessential NBA look, if that makes any sense at all. And it's just because it's vintage, right? It's like all the way back in the early '80s, and it kind of hits different. It's way different than what we would see now, but it kind of works. I really like it. My only knock against it, if it's even a knock, imagine being a player and you can see the two red stripes going across each of the jerseys at the top. I mean, playing sports, I know that if the jerseys are too similar, you're gonna pass it to the wrong dude. I'm curious to see how many errant passes happen in these games.
yeah.
In this game, yeah. So yeah, I really enjoy these though. These are, like I said, like quintessential like basketball look.
Oh, and I think you nailed it with like the vintage comment because it is. This is like very, just throwback basketball, and I really do kind of like the theme that they had because there's not many other All-Star, like you can't pin another All-Star jersey and be like, oh yeah, this year kind of looks like those 1980 Washington ones. They just don't. They stand alone. They're different. So I like the pick.
I love the pick. Again, this was one of the ones I had to cross off because I knew this was being picked. So what I will say is when I look at these, I kind of get the feeling of like playing street ball at Rucker Park.
Yep.
NBA Street Volume 2 stretch. And like, I just kind of get that. I just kind of get those feelings when I look at these. And that's such a nostalgic feeling. The white tubers though, with the two stripes up top,
right?
Just set it off a little bit too. So let's not forget about those. But no, these are again another great jersey, a great design with the stars down the sides, and that maybe I can see what you're saying with the color scheme in terms of the it could be too close to each other. But what I will say is that the only way that they can combat that, and it looks like they did that here, is with the numbers.
Yeah.
Where the numbers are blue and then on one and then white on the other one. But these are dope.
Yeah, no, there were some legends that played in this game too. It was like Kareem, Bird, I think Magic played in this game. So
I think he's right there in the picture, bottom right corner. Actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there he is. Yeah. No, there were some. There were some.
Dude, good eye. Holy hell!
I didn't even see that. Didn't even see that. Not gonna lie.
Magnificent.
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure out the other two, and I saw him. I was like, "No, that's Magic."
Yeah,
you can tell by the look on his face.
I wanted to say that might have been, and of course, this might make us look bad. I don't know, but it almost looks like Kareem a little bit going up for the block. I don't think it is, but
Kareem would be my guess too, honestly.
I think it
Kareem
is.
Philly years.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Yeah. I can't really tell, but yeah, I mean, either way, I saw these. I was like. Because, I mean, some of the older ones, and while they're good looks, and I think one of my later picks kind of has that same look ish to it. They kind of stuck to the hits for a while. This one was one that definitely stuck out. I would buy this jersey. Like if I saw this in the store, I would buy this 1,000%. So
Preach, baby, preach.
all right. So Benny, let's go to your second pick. What do you got?
All right. So, boys, I'm sorry I stole this one, but this is regarded as potentially the best and or most unique All-Star jersey in NBA history. This is from 1996, the year of our Lord. I'm just kidding, me and Smalls. But this was the year that Smalls and I were born, confessing age here a little bit. Okay, but this was both just absolute gas, like legit, like call the fire department because there is a gas leak. Okay, these are electric. These are incredible. I love everything about them. I love the tones. I love the logo on there with there being an actual, I guess that would be a boot, right? With a spur on there, paying homage to the city of San Antonio, which I spent 6 months at before. Love San Antonio. Probably wouldn't want to live there, but it's nice to visit. The way that they kept it, no pun intended, uniform between the two is awesome to me. That there was a white one within those like teal accents, and then the teal one with the white accents. The jerseys, or excuse me, the numbers up in the corner of the jersey, I really like as a nice touch. And for anybody who watches the show, you know that Smalls and I are suckers for big logos on jerseys. So having that next to what says NBA All-Stars, it doesn't say East or West. It's showing, like, it almost more so showcases the event and gives more significance to the fact that these guys are there playing in an All-Star game. These are just awesome. Like, this is one you were talking about, want to buy those ones. This is one that I would love to have. Jordan looks incredible in this game. He played incredible in this game. You got to remember this was in a very high time in Jordan's career. But I also like that San Antonio being like a smaller market for basketball. Like, they've always been a great team, but when it comes to the market that they're a part of and what they generate there, San Antonio is very much so a basketball city. But in the grand scheme of things, it's like, like people say that Pittsburgh is technically a smaller market, but we are very in depth with our sports and things like that. I love that in this case, they did pay homage to the city and that they did it so well. They executed it perfectly. I think even with the font and then the big cartoonish logo on there, but also the colors, because that the Spurs, they throw these colors out every now and then, and they're a part of their alternate logos, but most of the time they're black and silver or black and white or whatever. I like that they went more in depth to the colors, more of the city than just the Spurs themselves. And I think that they murdered this. I think that this was incredible. And I am on the side of the people who say that this could be the best All-Star jersey of all time.
Yeah, this is dope. Absolutely dope. What I looking at this, what I truly love, and you gave a perfect soliloquy of these jerseys and why they're so great. When you talk about the paying homage to San Antonio, the color scheme and the accents, what I really love about this though is, again, and it's so ever so subtle, the stripes in the waistband and the neckline and the shoulder lines. They're not the same. They're very unique to the jersey. It's two-tone in terms of on the left one, it looks like black and orange. And then on the right, you got the teal and orange. So, I think it's ever so subtle, but it helps really tie the whole entire front scheme of the jersey together when you talk about the number and the paying homage to the Spurs and then the NBA All-Stars in such a big fashion, because again, that's why they're there. They're there for the All-Stars. They're not there for, the numbers. Like, we all know the numbers, like those represent the people, but like, these jerseys are clean. They're dope. I absolutely love them. I would love to get a 96. I'm trying to think of maybe Hakeem Olajuwon was probably in that game, so I'd like to get one like that. Like a lesser, not because we all know Jordan's a GOAT, but like a lesser, well-known All-Star, I feel like is what really can be what really could be awesome. But the one maybe really to get would be the Admiral David Robinson.
David Robinson from then. Yeah, absolutely, dude. I was thinking the same thing, and I'm so glad you said it. First of all, I want to know, are you like sponsored by Clear Eyes or or like Pearl Vision or something like that, because your eyesight is incredible. You being able to pick out these certain things, like I am genuinely astounded. Like you being able to like pick out like these minute details that like are very important but very hard to recognize. Like you have an eye for this stuff, dude. You're gonna put me out of a job on here.
It's all about the details, Ben. No, to answer your question, maybe down the road, but I will say also my vision is completely horrible if I don't have my contacts. So thankfully I have them in today.
Yeah. So first of all, Dre, I just gotta say I appreciate you saying that. Well, it would be cool to have an MJ jersey of this All-Star game. You would appreciate even more a slightly lesser known but legit player. That's how I think about jerseys. Period. Whether it's a
It's all about the abstract person.
boom, it's the uniqueness, and that's what I love about it. Like that, like I always talk about. Like I think it was last week or the week before, I had an MJ Birmingham Barons jersey, and it's one of those things where it's like that is not when you think
fire.
of. That's not what you think of when you think Michael Jordan, right? But like,
yeah, you're going quintessential Bulls jersey, but then also like you have that Danny Heatley jersey, right? Danny Heatley
Danny Heatley Sharks
is somebody that like
That's
people
fire.
know and are like, oh, dude, that's dope because he's recognizable, but he's not on that like Sid or Ovi level, you know? Like it's like you got to have that person who is still a baller but didn't sit directly in the spotlight, because it's easy to get an MJ jersey, a LeBron jersey, a Crosby jersey, a Brady jersey. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to get those things, but if you get those like abstract guys who are still studs, like that gets you even more respect from the jersey head community. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, the thread head community.
Threadheads, yeah. But no, dude. And that's exactly what I was gonna say. It was like, whenever the whole genesis of the vault, right, was like I was always interested in jerseys, right. But whenever I got to college, I would go to parties or whatever, and I would, if there was a unique, cool jersey that like you don't see that often, I would have to go up and say something to the guy.
Yeah.
Like I had to. And like, I mean, it's probably not just me, it's a guy thing, right? Like if you're a sports fan, you just gotta do it. And like
I do that all the time. It don't matter where I'm at. If I see something like that, I'm like, yo, that jersey's dope.
Exactly. And that just it's the same that same idea, right? Where like I don't necessarily want the most known jersey. I want the jersey that is unique and like and almost like a find. Like you're able to pick, you can appreciate that just like a little bit more. I appreciate that you said that. I really do. Because like
when you think about it, it's like if someone has a Jordan jersey, it's like, oh, he's Michael Jordan, you have the GOAT. But if someone has a Hakeem Olajuwon, you're like, yo, like,
exactly.
Wow. Like it's a different reaction. I feel
like bro,
not even as a thread guy, but like not only as a thread head, but like as a fan of the NBA, you're like, I'm glad you know more than just MJ,
Dude, I was down in the city. This is a couple months ago. And in Smalls, I hope you know who this is, but I'm not going to hold it against you if you don't, Dre. I know you know who this is. I saw a dude with a Jerry Stackhouse jersey.
Yeah.
Okay. What? How? You know what I mean? How are you getting your hands on that? But like Stackhouse was like one of those, like he was a dog for a role player. You know what I mean? Like he was one of those guys that I'm like, damn, dude, like that's so sick. Because you don't, if I told you name me 100 basketball players, I guarantee you're probably still not naming Jerry Stackhouse. But if you like, when you bring him up to people who really love and pay attention to basketball, that's like, oh, dude, that's sick. You know what I mean? Like it's like stuff like that adds to it. So both of you, great comments. And Dre, I mean, you seem to be on a roll. So let's just keep it going, dude. What's your second one here?
Let's see what we got here. For jersey number 2, we got the 2012 Orlando All-Star Game jerseys. We talked about earlier in terms of the jersey fades. I believe it was my first jersey, if I'm not mistaken, where it was a two-tone. This is sort of like the same, but it's two-tone and the fade. When you look at it, you look at the East and the West, obviously – I'm going to say this again because I guess I like blue over red, but I like the East a little bit better because I like the dark blue that's almost like black into the light blue. It's sort of like a reverse ocean when you think about it, in the sense that like it's a little bit lighter, a little bit more blue towards the surface than the bottom. But I really like how it fades from dark into light from the bottom. And obviously, you got LeBron and Kobe in this photo, so two goats, like that's dope. But again, looking at these jerseys, you got the ever so subtle white outline with the numbers, and then the gold and the red, in the silver, in the blue. I think those two colors, not even just with jerseys, but in general, I think when you talk about the color scheme of any type of pairing, silver and blue go together, and gold and red just go together, like no matter what it is. And the NBA, I think, nailed it in this instance. It's kind of hard to do a fade. It's like a red into like a lighter red.
Yep.
Was what it looks like. But you could do orange. But I feel like because it's wrong, if it was Phoenix, maybe you could do that. But like for Orlando, I feel like with the dark red and light red, it works. It works very well. But what I love so much about those jerseys, the red ones, is the gold in the middle. If it wasn't gold, if it was just white, I probably wouldn't pick these jerseys. But
yeah, gold's perfect.
It's awesome. I love these. You got the star on the side. You got the West and the East All-Star in big letters, and then you got the big number, which is different from what we've shown so far. But you got the big number in the middle, and I really like that in this jersey style.
I'm glad
those are excellent acts. Oh, sorry, Smalls. Go ahead.
So what I was gonna say was I'm glad that you picked up on, because we've talked about it before, where there are often jerseys that it almost looks like a Microsoft Paint thing where it just transitions. It's like the gradient, right? And it can be done so poorly. But I'm glad that you picked up on that. They didn't go too much of a contrast here. It's just a slight shift. And I don't want to be a hypocrite because I've talked bad on that before, but like this works. For whatever reason, it's not ugly. Like they did a good job where it's not too much of a contrast where you fade from one color to another. I think it's kind of hard to do. If you want to do that, it's hard to do, and they did well with it. I don't look at these and I'm like, ugh, like these aren't bad,
Mm-hmm.
No, I think okay, so just full on disclosure here. These are my favorite All-Star jerseys, I think. And they're not the flashiest, right? But like I think like you said, Dre, the bigger numbers for whatever reason really does it for me. And I think because of the colors that they chose in them. Like if they just did white for each, the fact that they chose the silver for the blue and the gold for the red make these jerseys what they are. Now, obviously, there's a totality of the whole thing that I mean, these to me are as close to flawless as you can get in terms of a jersey being like legitimately clean. Like everything is sharp. The font is awesome of both the letters and the numbers. And I do like the gradient smalls, like you pointed out. Like it's not like it's genuinely perfect. Like if you were going to take a shot at this, it could be a disaster, but they knocked this out of the park. I love the entire uniform. I'm not going to go long-winded again, but dude, these, I mean, Dre, I know you're always whipping it up in the kitchen, and I'm not necessarily as much as you, but I'm going to give these a chef's kiss because this is as close to perfection as you can get. I'll tell you what, man, you are just killing the picks right now. Like, I mean, just we're manslaughter. You're going to jail because you are killing this shit right now.
We're all doing. We're all doing. It's the eye. We got that eye for talent, baby. We got the eye. We got that eye of the
scouts,
eye of the artist, so to say. Because this make it something like this is something that takes a different look. Like it's something that takes
absolutely
someone else to see something different that no one else can see. Like, obviously, these are out there designed by somebody, but it's just something that, like, when they see this and they visualize it and then they put it down on what it looks like, it's like, wow, like, it's insane to me. And I got to say, I agree. Definitely, I would say my favorite jerseys in terms of NBA All-Star jerseys. I was very happy to get this one out. But to go back, I guess, to the last point regarding the David Robinson or the Hakeem Olajuwon, I would probably get a LeBron jersey in this, and I say this for one reason only. His first year won his title. So first year, second year won number 6, but getting this in a number 6, I think it just looks so dope. So I feel like I would sell out and get a LeBron jersey.
Yeah. Yeah. So Dre, you are killing, tapping on what Ben said. You are killing this. and it's for reasons that we can appreciate. It's because you got the eye for it, and I'm glad
Thank you, guys.
that you're
it's
seeing it
not
the same way we are. You know,
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not to kiss your rump. It's because you perfectly are fitting in with like what Smalls and I attempt to do every episode. So, but I don't want to
Yeah.
spoil that
Right here,
before
boys.
we
We're
get
right
too
here.
further on.
yeah.
Hey, look at me! Look at me! We're killing it. That's what's happening right now. But
Yeah.
all right, man. Smalls, hit us with your number 2.
All right, so I'm gonna go back to 2003 Atlanta. So these are what I like to call just the back to basics. Okay, these are they actually basically resurrected what they did back in like the late 80s, where they had a stretch where they used basically the same All-Star jersey for 5 years in a row. And not that's not a knock, it's just that it was a standard thing. But they resurrected it back in '03. This is also the GOAT's last All-Star game. So this was MJ's last All-Star game. I love these. These are just they are like almost going off of what I said on my first pick. They are like the quintessential All-Star jersey. Like less is more on this pick. And I wish I could expand on it more than that. Like obviously the trim is awesome, especially around the waist. It really pops. Like the red, white, and blue really pops. It's enough of a contrast between the East and West. They just it's simple. It works, and I'm gonna leave it at that because there's nothing more to say outside of less is more, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Smalls. Less is definitely more. And again, to touch on 2 points, I'm not gonna elaborate too much on this, but there's 2 things that really stand out to me. Number one, the big numbers with the letters above and below. I love that. Love that on the front. And number two, one of the biggest things about this one is the NBA logo right before the NBA. It's on there subtly enough that it just fits exactly what they're trying to accomplish with these. And I know it's also up in the corner, but that NBA logo is always there in the corner. The point is that they put it a lot bigger, but not big enough where it completely overtakes the main scheme of the jersey. So I do love that subtle addition to the jersey, but you're right. It's basic enough where at the same time it's super super awesome, and the design of this is nice. So
Yeah.
and also shout out MJ last All-Star game.
Yeah, it's not quite it's not quite Rob Lowe wearing the NFL crest on his hat. It's not quite that. We're not team NBA, but like it is. Like you said, they are like it just works. Like they didn't try too hard with these, and that's what I appreciate about a lot of uniforms, a lot of jerseys. That's what I appreciate a lot of times is when you go back to basics, it works. Like when you go with a formula that has worked before and you kind of resurrect it and it still works. That's what I love about these.
Well, and hey, this is a league in America, and myself lumped in with probably a lot of other people. We're suckers for that red, white, and blue color scheme. So being able to balance that, man, I think is great. And yeah, these are like just grassroots basketball for what it should be, and I think this was solid to have it on.
Yeah, they played the hits. They played the hits.
Absolutely.
Play the hits, man.
Classics are the best, Sometimes a lot of people forget that. They always say, some people say new is always better. Like, nah, sometimes you got to take it back to remember exactly where you came from in order to appreciate where you're at now.
You almost sound like McConaughey there for a second.
Except I don't drive a Lincoln.
Oh, yeah. All right, Benny, what do you got for your last pick?
Okay, this one going to be controversial, I know, but let me explain. Okay, from 1997 to 2002, they were wearing. Each player was wearing their team's jersey. Okay, the reason that I love this so much is because we talked previously about jerseys having to pay homage to the city, right? But I love this so much because to me, each member is a representative of the city that they play in at what is supposed to be, aside from the finals, like the biggest stage, because these are the NBA's best stars, right? So Kobe and MJ here that you can see are repping like, hey, I'm playing on behalf of Chicago in this battle of the best. I'm playing for LA in this goat against goat. You know what I mean? And they would schedule it to where, you know, either the East or the West would wear their dark jerseys or their away jerseys. So one would obviously be their white uniforms, and the other would just be the more solid bold colors, which I love because that still differentiates. So no one's passing to the same team or things like that. It's very just blatant color differential. But I love that they were repping themselves. And to me, I think especially now, I'm surprised that we don't see this just because we, as sports has progressed and things like that, players are their own brand. So I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen that yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do see it soon enough to where we almost revert back to something like this. I love it. Like I said, because if there was somebody from my team, I'm like, hey, you see that? They're not just an East All-Star or a West All-Star, like they're representing us, you know? And I think that those players took a lot of pride in that. And obviously a lot of Kobe Bryant today. Okay. We have had him, I mean, almost every picture. But as you can see here, like this is awesome. And being able, I mean, more so you see like the All-Star banner on the ticker in the back. But I kind of like it when you see all of them together. It is kind of cool seeing like everybody in their own jersey, but still technically in a bold color and a white color. So you know they're repping their own city, but they're still a part of that East or West team. I really like this. I'm not saying that I want them to go back. Because from what we've showcased tonight, there obviously are a lot of times where the NBA comes out with some heat for the standardized jerseys for the East and the West. But this I just really like because of the individuality that this proposes to each player and them being able to put on for their city. Shout out Jeezy. I really like what they're able to do with that. So I don't know, man. Like this was cool to me because as a little kid. This is when I first started watching All-Star games. Now, like is a kid, but I saw them repping their own cities and wearing their own jerseys, which I like because in the regular season, that's also what I'm used to seeing these individual guys wear. So, you know, it was just cool. It's something that I'm not saying that we should bring back, but I think probably will at some point.
Yeah. And I have a conspiracy theory that I want to share.
Let's go.
So based off this, I don't know why, but this just kind of popped in my head now. So it's kind of just like a drummed up conspiracy theory. I don't know why, but I think of Shaq really going from Orlando to the Lakers. And that was right around the same time they converted to this. And I say that because that sort of, to me, I look at that move in free agency as like when the power sort of started to shift from to the players, where it became a players league. And I say it because that's what these jerseys do, is they individualize the player while at the same time representing the team that they are playing for. So, you know, we talked a lot today about the East and the West, but like you got the picture of Jordan playing for Chicago, got the picture of Kobe playing for LA. Like, what about some of the guys that play in lesser markets that we might not hear about? Like, what about I know at the time it wasn't at the time they were really good, but like it's a small market to me. And that's like, what about like Stockton for Utah? Like a casual fan might not know that like Utah was really good at the time. They see that dude ball out in All-Star game. Like, who is that? So you're only going to recognize him by seeing his actual jersey, you know? So it's not.
Dre, you need to be on TV or write books or something, dude.
I'm just glad that made sense to you guys, honestly.
The way that you were able to articulate this stuff is like stuff that like I consider myself very well versed in sports. You blew my mind. I need your analysis on ESPN tomorrow.
I'm not even kidding, dude. I looked at Ben, and I even just looked at me on camera, and we both just went like this for a second. Wait,
it's crazy stuff, and I'm telling you, it's like the one thing that came to my mind. I was like, it individualizes a player, but that's also again when it's probably started to shift from a team centric league to like a player centric league. We're like, let's focus on a
that's
player and
brilliant.
not just a player, because the player, when they're that good, can really elevate that league as a whole. Like Jordan proved that.
Yeah, and I again, like,
dude. Wow.
so the Utah Jazz thing, I mean, dude, David Stern definitely did that for a reason. Players like John Stockton, he did that for a reason. You kind of just blew my mind, actually, there. Because, like, how else are you going to market that? You know?
John Stockton looks like he'd be my accountant.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the best point guards of all time, like, no question. Like, dirty. But, like, wow. I didn't even think. I saw this, I was like, not that I thought it was lazy, but more like, hey, yeah, they're going to be more individual. I can't even say the word. More
individualized.
There we go. But I didn't think that it would come like full circle like that. Like that's next. Ben, we gotta have him back on. Like whenever I get back to Pittsburgh, I want to do a show in person.
Dre's driving in a roundabout.
I'm in, boys. You know that.
Wow.
Dre's just whipping it in a roundabout, bringing this thing full circle over and over again.
Oh,
that is
God.
Holy hell. Okay, enough of my pick. Dre, let's go. I want your last one, and I want you to just flow it, dude.
So this is my favorite throwback pick, and there's a lot happening in this picture, but there's one subtle thing that I'm going to point to during this analysis here. What I love about this is it's a huge logo in the middle. It's kind of like a metallicized NBA type level there, where the first thing when I saw this that popped in my mind was NBA Jam. I don't know why that's a video game, but I feel like when you see it, you see it in big letters. Like that's it. You see it when it pops on your Sega screen. Like that's what it is. So that's number one. I like the giant star behind it, because again, all-star. And then the number which really pops off from what is happening in the back. But what I love about these jerseys so much, and it's a lost art. And Benny, I don't know if you're a pick guy, because I know he's also a Penn State guy, but he's also appreciative of nostalgia. What I love about these is the script. The script lettering is so hard to pull off. And the Pirates did it in the late 90s. They brought it back for their latest jerseys for baseball. But you got the script on these, and the script for me is what sets us off. And when you look at the shorts in this picture, it's the complete opposite. You got the NBA in like silver on the top, but on the bottom you got it in red, but you got the big star as well, but you got the script lettering, and it's just I think it's just so sweet. It's just so subtle, but it's so sweet, and it's so hard to pull off in a jersey, but man, did they do it with these.
Wow.
And this screams 90s too, which I love. But genuinely, like in this case, the bigger the better. I love the large logo on the shorts, and I obviously love it on the jersey in the way that they, kind of just played with the art a bit. And two, I mean, great picture to select. This was back when Rodman played for the Pistons with Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars here. This is like a great all-time picture. Didn't even know this picture existed, but I love these jerseys. And like, I think like, obviously like the opposing side, the blue ones, I like a lot too, but I really, really am drawn to the white ones just because I feel like that metallic look with the red numbers is accentuated even more on the white uniforms. And this is just, dude, I mean, like Smalls and I talk about how like jerseys, a lot of time they typically play to the era, and this one did and murdered it. This was awesome.
Yeah. It almost, so I look at these and obviously it's not quite the same, but it screams, what year was it? 92. Screams the 92 Dream Team. That's the first thing I think of when I look at these, and not that had the metallic look or anything like that, but it had just, instead of NBA, USA with the big numbers, and like it had that look to it with also that added 90s look with the metallic look, the big star, big logo, and the script is something. I'm telling you, dude, murdering this because like the details are like something that like me and Ben pick up on this, but like
Yeah, it's
some of
you're
our
not
other
just
guests
like,
don't.
hey, it's a cool jersey. You are going into the intricacies of each uniform. Hell, I'm waiting for you to tell me the style of stitching that they did on the. I mean, like, but that's a good thing, bro, because you were picking up stuff that we don't even pick up, and him and I are
Sometimes,
very
yeah.
thorough. That's something that I take a lot of pride in, is how thorough we are in what we do. You, dude, are built for this. This is nuts, dude.
It's one of my favorite things about the vault. You know, you guys go into detail about, and I've been saying it all day, swagger. But swagger is in the details. It's not about, it's not about two things. It's about the details and what matters, what matches, what flows. And, you guys do it. You guys do it all the time. So for me to be on the show and able to have an opportunity to do that, I'm just trying to bring my A game because you guys rose the bar. I'm just
Hey,
trying to, I'm just
hit.
trying to
I don't
climb that
know.
level.
You might be raising
Listen,
our
you're
bar.
wearing
Like,
you're wearing that Ken Griffey junior jersey for a reason, because you came up the pinch hit and crushed a grand salami, dude. So this
Sweetest
is
swing of all time.
all your picks, dude, have been top notch.
but and not just for the picks. That's what I want to highlight. It's not just
The
because of the picks.
analysis.
It's because of the reasoning behind it. That's what I love. Like the 90s for me it's the combination of the script plus the outrageous in your face big metallic logo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In a good way.
I know
That's
what you
not
mean.
you know what I mean? Like it's such a good combo. And it's one thing that people don't often like put together, you know? Dude, I'm thoroughly impressed. Dre might be a regular guest. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
I'm here
Yeah.
for it, boys. I'm here for it. Let me tell you.
let's go.
But yeah, I love it. I love you guys gassing me up. My head is like, I'm shocked it's still in the picture because it's blowing up so much. But one thing I absolutely love, again, it's not even just talking about style and swagger, but it's going back to nostalgia, taking a trip back into memory lane, and I think. Smalls, you kind of hit it best when you talk about specifically with these jerseys. I didn't even think of this. I instantly think of now I think of like the 92 Dream Team. And I think about, and Benny said, how that's Dumars, Rodman on the Pistons, Isaiah Thomas. Like, I'm not going to lie, when I sent this picture on the left, I swear I just kept getting Karl Malone. I was like, that's not him. I don't know who that is. Like, I couldn't recognize the face. And you said Dumars, and my mind was blown. But like, that's the point of the jerseys. And going back there is kind of relating to those guys.
Yeah.
Like, Dumars would be a good guy to get because only real ones would recognize. Like, wow, Dumars.
And he was a dog, bro. But he
was a dog.
He got so overshadowed by the Thomases, by the Robins, by the Lambeers. But he was a flipping guy, dude. Joe Dumars was the real deal.
It's because their team was about whooping your ass. It wasn't about like, not even on the scoreboard. I mean, like physically. So IT was the best on that team, but everyone talks about Lambeer and all those guys because that's like their identity. But Dumars to me was the second.
One of the smoothest games. One of the smoothest games in terms of like where he played, like in that guard spot. Like, just everything he did was smooth. His passes, his shots, his lays, like I'm telling you, if you don't know who Joe Dumars is and you love basketball, go look up some Dumars tape. And it is, I mean, just like almost, and I mean this as a compliment, almost boring because it's so easy and flowy. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so clean. Everything he did was clean. So I appreciated that he was in this picture and that these were like, I mean, this was, Rodman before he became a Bull. So throwing that into it, this is prime IT. Like, this was great picture selection too. So this was, awesome.
Thank you.
Wow. That's it.
All right, Smalls.
Let's bring it home. I don't know if I can follow that, but
bring it home,
go.
Baby.
Bring it home.
So I'm gonna go 95 Phoenix. Okay. So this is the era of basketball, and nowadays I'm not a giant NBA guy, but I do remember growing up watching the NBA and watching things like Space Jam and going back and watching The Last Dance and 90s and like early 2000s NBA is like what I know about the NBA, just because I don't keep up with it as much as a lot of other people, right? So obviously the two guys you have in the era that I think of is Barkley and Ewing, right? And these to me are my, and I've talked about it before on the show, obviously, but these are my favorite All Star jerseys of all time, period. And like, no question. Because of the fact that it's pure 90s nostalgia. Ben and I have talked about it before on the show. I don't know what it is about purple, but purple on basketball jerseys just works. I don't know what it is.
The
Purple,
Lakers.
Jazz, it does not matter. Purple works, and Suns, obviously the Suns. But you pull that into the Phoenix NBA All Star jersey in '95, and they make it so in your face '90s, and probably at the time definitely slept on. Definitely, people were talking mad crap. I'm not gonna say the word mad crap on these jerseys.
Good catch.
Because they were outrageous. But if you really look at it, it brings in Arizona culture. You look at the trim on the side, you look at it's that Arizona-esque pattern, right? The cactus is a great touch. And when I say this, I don't mean it in a demeaning sense at all. When I look at this, I just think of the Rugrats intro theme, if that makes any sense at all. And I mean
Yeah.
that, and I mean that in a good way because it is pure nostalgia. It makes me think of an era when I was growing up when everything was so, I don't even know the word for it, but it was so like a bunch of stars, a bunch of like, and not even
So that
perfectly drawn stars, just a, a lot of graphic things that you think of
like
when you think of
pop
the
art type
90s.
deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pop art. That's probably the best way to think about it, honestly. But like these are perfect. These are, like I said, slept on when they came out without a doubt. Just like a lot of jerseys that we talk about on the show. Definitely slept on back in the 90s, but you look back at them now and you're like, "Man, these are fire." These are
Well,
fire. Between the font
and it's
and the cactus and even just the number on the chest, everything about it is just so pure 90s in your face, and that's what I love.
well, and again, Smalls, like we always say, fit the era, right? And
50
and I
era.
think kind of a great segue is Dre's last pick. This was the first year of them going back to doing city related jerseys
Yep.
after that. That was the previous era. So they had to come in with some heat. They go to Phoenix, right? And they killed it. Okay. I mean, these are incredible. And I think, like you said, I do get a little bit of the Rugrats vibe. I
Mhm.
also see
In a
like
good
the
way.
old
In a
school
good way.
Mhm.
in a good way, the
Yeah.
old school like Tostitos bags.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
Mhm.
1,000% if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, like, but it's like it is that throwback nostalgic memory, and I like that these almost kind of play into what the Phoenix Coyotes were wearing at the time,
Mhm.
like their
Yeah.
old school
Yeah.
stuff. Like it fits the culture of the city, and both the white and the purple were clean. I'm more partial to the purple because, like you said, Smalls, it just
Purple
friggin'
hits.
works for basketball, and they did it so well. The font I like was playful, but still serious enough for the NBA to bring it on. These are immaculate,
Yeah.
truly.
The one thing I forgot to add, the trim, the combination between
Yeah.
that green, that orange, and the black, all combined on the trim. Chef's kisses. We've said that about 3 or 4 times, but like, man,
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
we're just giving them
exactly.
out.
You said the cactus, which is lovely, but my biggest focus is on the side
hmm
style. I
hmm
believe,
Yes.
and I've been googling over here because I know exactly what you're talking about.
hmm
It's called ethnic style, and I'm not buying this, but like this is sort of like the vibes I
yeah,
get when I
yeah,
see it. And there's tons of
absolutely.
hoodies like that, and it screams Phoenix, Arizona. It screams
Yeah,
Arizona in general. That's just exactly how it is. And how Benny said they're picking up from the 94, the 91 to 94 era jerseys, where those were just how those were. Like, this is the first year they were going back to the city designs, and they nailed it to a T
hmm
with both jerseys. But with the cactus on there, it's like, oh, that's desert. And it's very big. It stands out, and I love that. But
it's obvious but not obnoxious.
Exactly.
And that's a big thing. It's very obvious of what they're playing into, but it's not annoying because it's not so aggressive with it. It's just very representative.
I would almost argue that it is obnoxious, and that's what makes it good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean,
obnoxious,
not obnoxious in the sense of like where you're like, oh, okay, we get it. It's like, oh, like this is like, yes,
out.
you very easy to tell what's going on, and we love it. So, holy hell, dude! When it comes to like quality of picks, this has got to be one of our best shows. Like, not that we make bad picks, but I feel like to go like 9 for 9 of like all heaters, this is one of our better slew of picks for sure throughout a show.
Dude, and what I'll say is, so Dre, whenever you were, I was kind of honestly back and forth between going NBA specific All-Stars and just general. I was thinking like, man, NBA All-Star jerseys are kind of hard to pick because there have been a lot of bad ones for sure. This is a really hard topic to pick. I think we got the good ones, and for the right reasons. We got them all right. For the right reasons.
Yeah,
exactly. And I'm not gonna lie, the second I get off here, I'm searching for some of these jerseys.
Yeah, dude.
Because I need them. Like, I don't have any of these, but I need them because I feel like the All-Star jersey is such a lost art. But like, again, and I do want to say one other thing about this jersey. So to me, this is very important in terms of the era. This is the first year that an All-Star game did not have Michael Jordan.
Bingo.
And that's
I was thinking the same thing. Yep.
That's big time because, we see Barkley and Ewing, and they had stars, but like Jordan was the star, just came off a three-peat. At this point, he's playing baseball. Like, that's very important, I think, when it comes to an All-Star game. Like, how do you elevate your sport? They changed the jersey. They made it stand out. So it's like, hey, the NBA stars are here. And, they did it in such a way that, again, is like what Benny said, it's standoffish, but they had to do it in that way because there's no Michael Jordan anymore during this game.
Yeah.
Dre, go take somebody's job at ESPN. Go do it, and go do it now. Just kick down the door and say, "What's up? I'm Dre Frye. You already know the drill. When do I start?" That's what has to happen for you. Drill. Okay, like that. That's what has to happen,
dude. No, like, I was torn between. So I sent in my picks first, right? So I had the pick of the litter, right? And I knew that someone was going to take the San Antonio ones. So I left. I could only pick one of these, and like, out of respect to you guys, I didn't want to get all the good ones. And not that any of the picks are bad. You know what I mean? Like, we've all done well, but like, I was like, I know someone else is gonna pick this, but this is in the same vein as the San Antonio ones for the same reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they both almost, I don't want to say look similar, but because they're very different, but like it's in the same vein. And dude, I don't know, dude. Let's just go into the summaries for all our picks. I don't want to suck us off too much, but like, dude, I think we kind of killed this one, dude. So Benny, dude, wow. Even that first pick, I think is going to be slept on. I really do.
It is in that, and I mean, I kind of feel like my first and third pick, just because I know they're not ones that immediately come to mind to people. Obviously, like the '96 San Antonio one, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, I'm happy with what I put out, and especially, I had to do what I could to keep up with you two, for God's sake, because y'all gave me a giant run for my money, and now I'm chasing the money because you guys just took it and ran with it.
Yeah, you killed it. You absolutely killed it.
Even that last pick, you had reasons for it, and that's all that matters. That's
very important reasons.
I've definitely said it before, dude. Like, there are no wrong answers on the show, and I've openly disagreed with some of Ben's picks. I forget there have been.
Oh yeah, and vice versa. Yeah, absolutely.
There have been
I
some.
can't remember what was. I think it was a college football one or something.
It was
Like I was like
Notre Dame.
Like,
it was Notre Dame. Yeah, it was Notre Dame, and I was
but
like,
that
dude,
I
these are trash. These are trash.
No, the
Like,
one that I disagreed with you. I like it was like very short and sweet. It might have been college basketball or something, and I was like, dude, these stink.
Yeah.
And it wasn't aggressive. It was just like, and that was all I had to say about it, or like not for me, But like truly, I think we went 9 for 9, like solid dots today.
So yeah, we'll go to Dre's, dude. So again, the transition normally makes me sick to my stomach. That Microsoft Paint looking thing, but they killed it. They did it well. I don't know what it is. They did it really well. And then,
hey, Dre, well done, dude.
Thank you.
Well done,
Dre.
Dre.
Boys. Thank you.
No, really,
Tip of the cap to you as well. You guys set the bar every single episode. So me being my first episode, I had to bring some heat, but I had to bring the reasoning behind the heat. I did go a little I went with the transitional route, but
it's tough.
The reason it is tough,
but you did it. Yeah.
Thank you. And I had to do it. And like I said, the best part about this, I think for me again, is just going back and doing my research and thinking this, like some of these, like I forgot about the 07 jerseys entirely. And going back and thinking about that is just awesome. I'm thinking about things like, oh, I remember back when they were talking about Kobe and Shaq feuding. Meanwhile, they made up the All-Star game. Like, just things like that. And like seeing LeBron there and thinking 2012, like, oh wait, that was his first title year. Like, that matters to me. So, it was awesome. So thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm glad I got a chance to accentuate my opinions on the jerseys of iPad.
Of course, brother. We're happy to have you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll wrap it up with mine. Again, I think 2 of mine were definitely more conservative picks, but like I said, with
you went with a classic, true to the heart of basketball approach, and I love that.
Yeah, Harlem Globetrotter-esque.
Rucker Park.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both vibes.
Absolutely. With 2 of them, I went like just 100% NBA All-Star looks. And then the next one, I went pure 90s nostalgia. But like, I don't know, dude. I don't know. Again, I always put it out as a poll on social. I don't know who's gonna win this one because like all of these are just fire.
Tough, dude. Like, they're so tough.
Like
very,
I don't know.
Very tough. Hey, if I lose, I'm glad I lose to 2 Jersey savants that just got the eye for it, And that to me is one of the best things about being on here today and talking about that. It's like there are no wrong answers whatsoever. Like
no, because it's all interpretation. You know what I mean? And that's why I think we like having guests in general, but especially someone like you who knows what they're talking about, right? And dude, okay, so like obviously I knew you were going to pick Heat, right? I knew that just because of your knowledge of sports and like you have kind of like an archive, right? But the way that you were able to articulate why you like them was top tier.
Better than me, honestly. Like
Stephen Hawking could not type a better soliloquy for why your jerseys were awesome than you did. This was absolutely astounding, dude. We were obviously super pumped to have you on the show, but appreciate you coming on. And I mean, just genuinely, like, this is not ass kissing, dude. You just did so well, and we like having you on the show because you were Dre Frye, and the reason that people love watching what you do is because people love Dre Frye, so they're gonna love Dre Frye's content.
Round of applause for Dre, dude.
Yeah. Give it up for Dre.
Let's go.
But Dre, dude, you just you were awesome, and we would love to have you back anytime you're free.
Just let me know, boys. I'm always glad to talk swagger. You guys set the bar. I just had to come and try to bring my A game as best as I could. I'm glad that both of you guys have enjoyed my picks today. And I'd be more than happy to come back on and legitimately do this again because I had so much fun today. Next time, maybe I'll drink a white wine. Who knows? Maybe I'll have whiskey with y'all. I didn't know y'all were drinking whiskey. I like bourbon, so I'm a big bourbon guy. No, the bottom line is so much fun. And like I said, after this, because it's tax season, I might go and spend a little bit of money here on some jerseys. So, yeah, once again, honestly, thanks, guys. Benny, Smalls, much appreciated.
Of course, brother. Glad to have you. Smalls, as always, been a pleasure, my dude, and look forward to hitting it again next week.
Absolutely. Hey, guys.
I can't wait to be back.
No, hey, you're
Yes,
coming.
sir.
You're coming. Whether you like it or not, you're coming back on. I'm gonna let you know. Like you're coming back on.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
here
gonna
for
see
it.
me and Smalls at your door with duct tape and be
I
like,
won't
"All
be
right,
use my
guess I'm
I
doing
won't
the
be
show."
using my hands. I'll be
Yeah.
tied behind here, and I'll just like, Morse code, like, help me.
Well, hey guys, this has been the Vault Weekly Show where we take a look back at some of the best and worst jerseys in sports. We picked some heat tonight. Dre, thank you again for coming on. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, it was a
Glad to be
pleasure.
here.
Hey boys, one last cheers for the road.
I gotta refill my cup here, but I'm gonna do that for the boys.
Ooh,
For the
let's go.
boys.
For the boys. All
Cheers,
right.
boys.
Cheers,
Cheers.
boys.